So there was a big committee fistfight over the Council on American Islamic Relations. And we actually have our Capitol Hill correspondent, Pedro Gonzalez, giving us some of the details on that a little bit later. But first, I have to talk about this scandal with Representative Thomas Massie of Kentucky. Now, he is in a primary. According to some of the betting markets, he is now no longer considered the favorite to win the election. And these sexual assault allegations, I was asked about yesterday by you over in the Mail Time chat. Again, to ask a Mail Time question, head down to the Discord link. It's in the description. Join us over there, and you can ask as many Mail Time questions as your little heart desires. I told you I didn't know because I hadn't seen enough yet to make a decision. Now I've pretty much made a decision at this point. I've seen some of the evidence. I've read through the details. I'm citing an article from the Free Beacon, the Washington Free Beacon. They usually do pretty excellent reporting. So the allegations are that an allegation of personal misconduct, sexual pressure, retaliation in a congressional job, and then an attempted hush money payment. So these come from a young lady by the name of Cynthia West. She is currently a Republican school board candidate in Florida and was briefly a congressional staffer for Congresswoman Victoria Spartz of Indiana. Now, we're going to get into a lot of things here in this, but I want to make these things explicitly clear. Because I am mentioning Thomas Massie on the show, on the air here, at this point in time, before an election, either of the candidates in that primary are more than welcome to come on the show and discuss whatever it is that they like, but under free time use, because I'm mentioning him in a political fashion and the impact this could have on the primary, we're playing by the rules because we're fair. Number two, this absolutely has nothing to do with Cynthia West's Republican school board candidate race, but if any of them are upset about that and also want to come on the show, we'll work something out because we play fair here on TKC. So, what's this whole scandal about? It's essentially that Cynthia West alleges that Thomas Massie pressured her to be very romantic and very intense. And then there was some pressure and some fights and things didn't turn out so well. And the allegation is that she was then forced out of her job and then forced to sign some kind of an NDA because things didn't end with Thomas Massie very well. So here's the timeline. So according to the Washington Free Beacon article, Massie's wife of 30 plus years, Rhonda, passed away in June of 2024. West claims that Massie first messaged her romantically on X in mid-August of 2024. So this wasn't during his marriage to his late wife. They began a, quote, intense, very romantic, end quote, relationship involving visits to his Kentucky home and at least one joint trip. Now, some of the assistance and pressure allegations, these are really thin. I'm going to be clear with you. These are very thin, but I'll read them here. According to the Free Beacon article and the accusation by West, Massie allegedly helped her secure a temporary 90-day probationary position in the office of his close ally, Representative Victoria Spartz of Indiana, as Director of Operations and Scheduling. She started around January of 2025 and was paid about $17,000 over roughly 12 weeks. After about 6 weeks, Ms. West says she ended the relationship because Massie repeatedly pressured her to engage in behavior, described in some reports as deviant sexual behavior. So the claim is that Thomas Massie of Kentucky, and welcome to our radio crew back from commercial here. We're kind of too deep in the weeds to pop in and out for a bumper there. The allegation is that Thomas Massie got her a nice job, and then after the relationship ended, things turned sour, and then there was a firing and a complaint. And it says that, and again, this is listed in the same report, Representative Victoria Spartz' office cited, quote, unsatisfactory job performance for not extending her employment. West filed a complaint with the Office of Congressional Workplace Rights, alleging retaliatory discharge and named Massie as a witness. Now we get to the hush money claims. So when she informed Massie, again, this is according to the Free Beacon, that she was filing the complaint, he allegedly offered her $5,000 in cash to walk away. She says this was part of the $10,000 in cash he'd previously given her for incidentals as a single mother, but she later returned the remainder during an in-person meeting at a Kentucky Cracker Barrel. And just to be clear here, there ain't nothing ever wrong with going to a Cracker Barrel to either do business or pleasure. That's just listed in the article. She also says she was offered a $60,000 settlement with the OCWR that required a non-disclosure agreement, an NDA, which she rejected on transparency grounds. So West has provided a sworn videotaped interview and deposition detailing these claims. And then she also cited emotional abuse. Okay. Couple of things here right off the top of the bat for transparency's sake. I am not really, I used to like some aspects of Thomas Massie. Ever since he became kind of a drama queen in the House, I haven't really cared for him. I don't like those who just vote against the party or who vote against bills that Americans support because they're really mean and grumpy and mad. I also do not care for his whole Ro Khanna escapades and nonsense either. And we'll get to that. I'm not seeing things right here that convince me of a lot of really unethical behavior. I'm just not seeing it. And here's why. First of all, regarding Victoria Spartz' office, it is widely known that working for her office, that's one of the wilder ones in Washington. Victoria Spartz is always one white monster away from flooring it to 90 on any road. That's a metaphor. That's not saying she actually drinks white monsters and floors it to 90, although she probably should. It's a crazy work environment with a high turnover rate. It is. And as far as also calling Thomas Massie and Victoria Spartz allies, it's kind of a stretch. Now, did Massie perhaps engage in getting her a kind of position because they're buds? Yeah, that happens in politics all the ding dang dong time. All the time. Absolutely. Have I suggested that people get think tank positions or been a reference for those that are professionally formed before? Absolutely. And you have likely done the same in other places. People you like, you suggest for positions. Now, obviously, with it being Congress, that's a little something different, but it's not like giving her a role to go be Victoria Spartz staffer is like any kind of some kind of a vacation, especially not for, Director of Operations and Scheduling. Oh, yeehaw. So essentially being the lady in charge of Victoria Spartz's calendar. Yeesh. I mean, again, I've met Victoria several times. She's intense. She's a Ukrainian immigrant, and do I agree with her on a lot of stuff? Nah. Do I agree with her on some stuff? Yeah. Do I think she's kind of a drama queen as well? Yeah, after she threw a little bit of a grump fest and said, hey, I'm not going to serve in any committees because she was mad. Yeah, I criticized her for that. Do I see anything really connected here? I don't think so. Now, could I be wrong? Absolutely. This is just, I read the Free Beacon article. I've looked at the clip that Thomas Massie is really aggravated about over from Will Chamberlain, who made this.
You have an offer of what?
Settlement for $60,000 to settle the case for the retaliatory discharge in the Congressional Accountability Act violation with the Office of Victoria Spartz.
So this video, you can see Will Chamberlain, by the way, transparency, also a friend. In the bottom right, he's watching and doing a little reaction video to the deposition video and the sworn testimony video. That's what he's reacting to. So he gets near to the end of the video and he makes these comments.
I can't do that.
So again, this is a key point. She's saying that to the extent an NDA was required, it was required for her settling with the Spartz's office. So then again, go back to Thomas Massie's tweet, his non-denial denial. He says, quote, I've never offered anybody money in exchange for their silence. So he hasn't offered an NDA. Technically true, but Ms. Spartz's office did offer her 60 grand in exchange for an NDA that would have prevented her from talking about Thomas Massie. So again, he's saying he's telling the truth, but it's not a denial of the substance of Ms. West's allegations.
So that's the video released by Will Chamberlain. Again, why do I point all of this stuff out? There are a couple of reasons. So Thomas Massie really did not like this particular video and allegations, and he came out pretty immediately, and he said, hey, I hope you have, what did he say here? I hope you have good lawyers when this is over. Why do you still assert that the NDA allegedly offered by Spartz's office or House Employment Office? I mean, I'm going to be quite frank with you, probably more likely here that it is Spartz's office who offered it. I'm just saying, from how I'm reading it, Spartz has been accused of being a bad boss. There was an entire radio ad that I hated more than anything in the last election. that someone's like sitting waiting for an interview with Victoria Spartz, their congresswoman, and there's like a person yelling in the background that sounds like Katie Porter, and is like, oh man, I would never want a congresswoman who yells, and then that's the commercial. Spartz has been hit with those allegations before. Again, she's an intense woman from Eastern Europe. Is that an excuse for that? No, this is not even a secret in Indiana at all. And I say that knowing that, like, I regularly text members of her freaking staff. So it's not like I'm surprising any of them. I mean, I'm probably surprising a few of them with how candid I'm being, but hey, this is the Tony Kennett cast. So at least in this case, I don't think that, saying, well, I don't know who offered the NDA. Come on, guys. Come on, don't do this. But then he says this, perhaps you should clarify if you're making that part up. What would have prevented her from talking about me? So there was a little back and forth, newer articles, gave her the money in December, even started, it's a hatchet job and you're complicit. So you have Massie here saying, I don't like all of this negative press right before a primary, in the middle of a time when I'm trying to do stuff that alleges that I'm a really skeezy, sleazy guy without any evidence for it. Now, two things can and appear, based on my reading here with you, a little family-friendly, reading rainbow through these allegations. There's two things here that are popping out. Thing number one, it appears to be a very weak allegation. It does. Guys, people do, in fact, Massie did not message her while he was still married, while his wife was still alive. If they had kind of a hot and fast fling, that often happens with those who have recently lost their spouse. It is. That's a thing. I don't know if you want me to tell. I mean, there are a lot of people who who get married again, who get in a relationship again, and the desire for emotional intimacy is so strong, so fast that things do ramp up. I hear you. I do not know about the motives of Miss West. I'm not going to accuse her of anything. I'm just saying right now, suggesting that Massie offered her $5,000 in cash to walk away, and then this was also part of a $60,000 settlement. That required like a big NDA that may have included Massie, may have not. I'm not seeing it here. And I'm not trying to cover for anyone here specifically. I've just disclosed my entire relationship to any of the individuals in this entire situation. So that's thing number one. It looks like a bit of an oppo job right before an election. It does. And I say that, and I don't think the Free Beacon is the first article writing about this. The Free Beacon, I think, is just the most concise about all of the ifs, ands, buts, and coconuts on this particular story. Here's the second thing that's true. It is a little rich for Thomas Massie to be complaining about others making sexual assault allegations about him without any evidence. Thomas Massie has spent several months accusing innocent individuals by doxing them of being in the Epstein files and therefore super complicit, even though included in those Epstein files are like crackheads calling in and going, Hillary Clinton invented AIDS and then flew Epstein over to the University of roly-poly-oly, that kind of crap. Thomas Massie alleged that, hey, there are these 6 prominent individuals who weren't named, and so he stood up with Ro Khanna, and it was so brave and amazing. And then they ended up doxing guys that were part of an FBI, like a lineup to identify people who looked like the 2 individuals who were under suspicion. And those people in the lineup ended up getting a lot of death threats and things. So as for Mr. just an entire career of just voting no that is boiled down to in this last year and accusing a lot of individuals by secondhand and proxy of sexual assault and sexual complicity, it's rather rich that when the shoe is on the other foot here, immediately it's, well, I'm going to give you shall hear from my lawyer, sir. Come on now, honey, sweetie baby. What's good for the goose is good for the gander. Sorry. Those things aside, does it look like, do I think this is really overblown towards Massie so far? Yeah. Do I wish this was happening to him? No, I don't like that kind of crap. And I think it's obviously an oppo hit job before an election. That's just my take on it. Now, again, one more time. Do I think it's kind of rich that he's really upset about this? Oh, absolutely.